few weeks ago, I put out a video. It was a review of Taekwondo grappling techniques. One of the criticisms I had was that when they were demonstrating defense against a double leg takedown, the guy executing the double leg hit a knee about a foot away from his opponent's lead leg. So let's talk a little bit about the use of hitting a knee when you're going for a takedown. Because I see this sometimes when people demo defenses. They have an intellectual understanding that wrestlers will sometimes hit a knee when they're going for the legs. They don't understand the context. In amateur wrestling, American folk style or collegiate wrestling or international freestyle wrestling, the legs are vulnerable to attack because the competitors know that. A lot of times you will see them in sort of a half squat or a bent over position. They're trying to protect their legs. So, because of how takedowns work, if I'm trying to take somebody down, I have to get my center of gravity underneath their center of gravity. And in order to get past all those defenses, of course, they have other ways of, disentangling from the arms using things like arm drags and shucks and all that stuff. But they have to hit a knee in order to get past those defenses and get underneath the center of gravity. What they don't do is they don't hit a knee from a foot away, because that's at like the maximum length of the reach of your arms. So the only way that's going to work as a takedown is if I can somehow do some sort of rowing motion and fight the friction of your feet against the ground and your weight on the ground to like pull you toward me to get a takedown from that. It's not going to work. It's not how physics works. Unless you were just like massive compared to the guy you're in there with. So, when I learned the double leg, and I've heard this reinforced by several different instructors, I was told to imagine there was a plane of glass between the opponent's heels, and if you need to hit your knee, you imagine that your knee is penetrating and breaking that plane of glass. So if I shift my weight over top of my knee, once it's hit the mat, now everything from my knee, hip, shoulders, all that is being supported there. And it is underneath the center of gravity. And in all honesty, if you do it right, if your timing's right, you really shouldn't have to. You're not like dropping your knee to the ground. It'll be on there for a fraction of a second before you pop up and, turn the corner, drive the guy. When they're showing the knee drop, they're showing it wrong. There's no other way to put it. You can even hit it with a single leg. There's a technique called a swing single, but even then, your knee, you're not penetrating between the guy's legs. You're going outside of the lead leg, but you're still getting your knee past the heel of your opponent's leg. The other factor in there, going back to the stance that's used in these forms of wrestling, again, it's sort of bent over, it's sort of a half squat. You don't need to hit a knee if your opponent's standing upright, which is, again, the context I see these guys using it in. I don't need to drop down to a knee to get under somebody's center of gravity if they're standing in a normal fighting stance, right? A striking stance. And we see that in mixed martial arts, where some of the best takedown artists, if they're doing takedowns from the outside, like in the middle of the ring, you almost never see somebody hit a knee. There are a couple of fighters who do that habitually, but for the most part, somebody like George St. Pierre, just step in between the guy's legs because the guy's in an upright fighting stance. So, if you are designing a takedown defense against a double leg, first of all, wrestling's done it for decades. They do it better. But if you decide that you need to design a takedown, or a defense against a double leg takedown, and you want to do it against somebody who's hitting a knee, bear all these things in mind. They don't need to hit a knee if you're not bent over in that half squat wrestling position. If they do hit a knee, they're not going to do it a foot away from your lead leg. They're going to try to get that knee under your center of gravity so it can support the rest of their body once it's there. So, thank you for listening to me rant.